for over a month, and I'm really just wanting to torture you right now in anticipation because I've had to wait like 6 weeks for this to happen. And I guarantee you're going to agree how exciting this is. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask Kay Moser if she would come forward for a special presentation.
Well, first of all, I need to know if the Church of Christ has confession, because I need to go to confession. I have told so many lies this morning that I don't know what's going to happen to me. In fact, I've been telling lies for several weeks in regard to this issue. I am Kay Moser. I am a novelist. I moved here 6 years ago from Texas, and God blessed me because he moved me next door to Miss Christine Pigg. You can imagine what a blessing that was. I didn't know at the time it was a blessing, and I didn't even know how much I needed Miss Christine in my life. But when I moved here, I had lost my husband and buried both of my parents, and this was a time for me to start over. And God was way ahead of me, wasn't he? If you know her, you know he was. I arrived and I didn't know anybody in Franklin. But as soon as I pulled up and the van of furniture started unloading, then the doorbell rang. And there was a white-haired lady standing on there, and she was introducing herself, and she was welcoming me and encouraging me. She offered me immediate acceptance. You are here. You are ours. You belong. We want you. You're one of us. She also offered me a great big pan of banana nut bread. I don't remember getting any of that to eat. I think all those movers ate it. Eventually, she organized a surprise party, an ice cream social for me, and I met all of the people in my neighborhood, and I discovered that they had all lived together for decades, and I do mean decades. They had even gone to elementary school together. So I was a total outsider, but a total insider, thanks to Miss Christine. For about 5 years, I watched this extraordinary lady in action. And as I said, I'm a novelist. And I began to write a new series of novels, and I began to create a character based on Miss Christine's personality, her love, her way of giving. And I wrote the first book, and then they asked me to write a prequel. That's a little book that comes before the first book. And I began to realize that this character had to be named Christine. Of course, so she is named Christine. The Christine I wrote about is a woman who has a ministry. And it's a ministry that's a very quiet but very powerful ministry. Because our Miss Christine, and the Miss Christine in the novel, is a woman who simply looks around her and she loves and assist anyone who comes within her sphere of influence. And that is her ministry. I'd like to say just a few general words about ministry, since I have this bully pulpit and can do so. It's quite possible that you don't know what ministry looks like. I know I have a tendency to think of ministry as a man preaching in front of the congregation, or a music leader perhaps leading music, or a youth director, or maybe I think of it as a missionary on a foreign field, or someone who runs a soup kitchen or visits people in prison. Those are certainly all ministries, aren't they? But the fact of the matter is, ministry is not limited to people who have jobs in ministry. In fact, ministry is not limited at all. Ministry occurs every time anyone helps another person in the spirit of Christ's love. That is ministry. And so all Christians are called to ministry. Why are you called to ministry? Because you have experienced the redeeming, life-supporting love of Jesus Christ, and you must pass it on. You must pass it on. So God has called you to ministry, whoever you are out there, whatever your life is like. God has called you to ministry. He has called you to partner with Him in ministry. Now we know that God is the spiritual power behind ministry. We know we don't do it by ourselves. We know we can't do it by ourselves. We can't do anything without the fuel that comes from the spiritual infusion that God gives us through Jesus Christ. So God is the spiritual power. But think about it. God does not have hands and feet and eyes and arms to embrace. Jesus left us in the physical form, and He left us with a ministry. I think that Teresa of Avila said it beautifully and much more poetically than I could. She said, Christ has no body now but your body. He has no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes through which He looks compassion on the world. Yours are the feet with which He walks to do good. That's very well put, beautifully put. You are a Christian. You are called to ministry. But how do you know what your ministry is? We can spend years fumbling around, moaning about the fact that I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Lord, tell me what to do. And we pray, and we talk to other people, and we go to counselors, and we go to Sunday school classes, and we agonize over what am I supposed to be doing. We make it very complicated, don't we? But the truth of the matter is, if you want to know what your ministry is, just look around yourself. Who is standing close by? Who needs a smile? Who needs a hug? Who may need something as significant as food, or to be visited in prison, or to be visited at a nursing home, or to be taken to the doctor, or who knows what. It may be a child who does need something special. But all around you is your ministry. And you have the tools because you have the spiritual God inside of you. You have Jesus Christ inside of you. You have His model of love. And you have His hands. You have His eyes. And you have His feet. You're the one with the arms who can embrace someone who needs to be embraced. I would say if you need to understand what ministry is, I'd like for you to look at my neighbor, Christine Pigg. You've been watching her a long time. You really don't have any excuse for not knowing what your ministry could be. Just look at my neighbor, Christine. So when I wrote this new series of novels. As I said, I wrote a prequel, and that's a little short novella that you start a series with. And it's called Christine's Promise. And I'm not trying to sell you a book, I'm trying to sell you an idea. Christine's Promise is about a child who is named Christine, who learns what it means to be in ministry. And then she acts it out through the rest of the series. We thought we would get to make this presentation before Christmas, and so we had no idea that the first book of the series would be releasing, and it releases tomorrow. But this is the beginning of the series in terms of the big books. And Christine is called Christine Boyd in the books, but you know her. And she has shown you how ministry works. I'm sure I can count on you to follow her lead. We love you, Christine. Thank you.